welcome back to my channel. I have been back from a trip to Paris for about a day and a bit, and it was a very exciting trip. We were there for 5 or 6 days in total. I think it was 6 days, and I managed to go to some museums and did an art session with a tutor, got myself a new ring which doesn't quite fit, so that was very exciting. And then we caught a virus, another one, a stomach bug this time, on the last couple of days, and I'm only just coming back to normal. But I wanted to share with you some of the things that I packed to take to Paris, knowing that I'd have a few days to myself to wander around and do art. And I think this is a really good video to share with you because, as usual, I overpacked, and that's despite knowing that I wanted to do certain things while I was there. So I'm going to run through what I took with me and what I did use, what I didn't use, and how I would adjust for the next time I travel. This is something that you haven't seen before, is this item, which will be in my November art haul, which will go live at the end of November. We are the 16th already, but this came right before I left, so that was very exciting and actually was very helpful. But let me take you through everything else that I took with me. These are some new little things that also came in the package that this came in. I thought they were going to be bigger. You'll learn more about these in November's art haul, but tiny little pots, and I put in some acrylic paint for the purposes of creating a bit of texture background while I was away. In order to do that, I also took a scruffy brush, which is in here, so we'll get to that as well. Obviously, I took a squirty container of water, a spritzer, binder clips, because always need binder clips. I didn't use this one at all. This one was my main go-to, and that comes down to the sketchbook choices as well. So in terms of sketchbooks, I took my little one thinking that it would be handy on the train. We went down on the regular train and then the Eurostar, and then we potted around. Well, I had the first few days to myself. I thought I would use it, and as you can see, nothing. I didn't use it at all while I was away. Even though I love this size, I just didn't use it. So that I will probably still take a smaller sketchbook for future requirements. On this particular trip, I didn't use it. The second sketchbook I took was the large, well, the medium sized. I think this is a Stillman and Burn, isn't it? Yeah, Stillman and Burn. And you've seen it because I took it on my last Paris trip. But again, I didn't use it. You can see I prepared a couple of pages, but I didn't use them. The reason that I took the handbag, like the same little backpack as last time, is because this one fit in it. I had intended to take one of these, which again you'll see in November's art haul. I spent a fortune on this one from my local art shop, and then I decided against it because the pages were quite thick and I wasn't sure if I would use them. I didn't take this one, which I'd ordered, especially the Cloud Fontaine, which again you'll see in the art haul, because it was too big for my bag. Like, it wouldn't fit in my bag. So I left these behind and took this one instead, but then never ended up using it. My go-to sketchbook the whole time that we were there was this one. I'm not going to take you through all the pages because that's for a different video, but I did do, like, I prepared pages before, which is why I took these with me. But I didn't actually, this was from an art session, a tutoring session that I had at one of the museums, and that was really helpful. But the book itself is one that I took around and did a lot of stuff with. And I think it's because it's the larger format. I really enjoyed being able to do multiple things on one page. Now, I just want to quickly go back to these little pots. My plan was to make some more muted colours. So I popped white, titanium white acrylic into each of them. And then I popped a smidgen of quinacridone red, Payne's grey and India red oxide into the remaining ones, and ended up with these muted colours. So this is like a muted pinky. I think that's the transparent red oxide one. This one is the quinacridone red. So getting hard around the edges, and I did put a bit of water in them as well to try and make them a bit looser. Oh no, I didn't think about that, did I? And then this is the Payne's grey, and they actually went on the page nicely. I used a really old gnarly brush to try and just get some texture in there, and I can see how they would work for small studies, but I didn't get to use these pages yet. So again, it was not necessary for me to take these with. So that's again something I probably would reconsider. I really enjoyed using this sketchbook. As I already said, it was mostly because of the size, but frustratingly, the one time where I could really have used it, I had joined a session. It was like an art tour. So it was supposed to be a group, but it was just me. And I really enjoyed it. Like, I was nervous because it was a group setting, but then it was only me that had booked on. So it became one-to-one, which made me nervous. And the person running it, tutor, she's an art teacher. She's lovely. She really helped me with some stuff. Like, this is the first time I've ever tried to draw a statue, and I'm really happy with the result. But we looked at stuff like, I would not normally sit there and do a study of a leaf, but I didn't feel like I could say no, because these were exercises that she had created based upon a group setting. And again, this one here is the Le Coronel de la Nuit, which was it's a glass thing hanging from the ceiling. It's not something I would have looked at and studied myself. So it was really interesting to do that kind of visit to a museum. It was at the Petit Palais. It was supposed to be walking as well, and then doing like urban sketching along the way, or sketches along the way to the Petit Palais, but it was raining, so we went straight there. But I did find that I mostly used this sketchbook because of the size that it offered. Okay, so in terms of materials, I took a small selection, which I threw in at the last minute because I was like, oh, I don't have any pastels, and I didn't use them once, mostly because they're messy. As you can see, they've crumbled no end while I've been traveling around. It looks like it's the schminky one that's crumbled the most, and I didn't use them at all. Not from not wanting to, it's just that they are really, really messy, and I didn't want to get in a mess, really. And the Neo colours, which I was desperate to take with me, I didn't use at all. That's not to say that I wouldn't in future occurrences or future occasions. It's just that this trip I didn't use them at all. This is my travel watercolour kit, sort of, because some of the stuff has been moved into my Etcher Field case. I used my Sailor Fude pen. I use my Micron, but these actually at the time were in here. I had taken this with me, and because museums don't like you to have wet mediums, which I didn't think about, I didn't use this at all while I was away. My little watercolor set, I just didn't use it whilst out and about. I did back at the hotel to fill in some color, but in general didn't use it, so I could probably have left this entire kit behind. To be fair, the white pen I only took with because there's a few pages from a Patreon session that I hadn't completed that needed some white detailing, which is why I took it, because I thought I might use it. Then we have my drawing pencil case. Now, I selected the colors in here quite carefully before I left. I took some, I can't remember if I showed this or not. Don't think I've recorded it, but I put in a selection of kind of like grays and purple, like muted colors. Like we've got a burnt ochre, 10%, violet grey, burnt sienna. Actually, I think I've also got the 50% here as well. Some pinks, some blues, plenty of greens, because I figured there would still be trees with leaves. So I really enjoyed using all of these, including the Derwent drawings. I tried to not take any other brands. So we have the Luminance, the Derwent drawings, and I have a good selection of polychromos, but I wanted to kind of stick to just what I had here. And these worked really well for layering. And I layered them. I really love this case. This case is great because it holds everything in tightly. I could put it in my bag, and with like sometimes I just took like a pen and my pencils, and I paired it with this Etcher Lab field case, which I got during the Etcher sale on Jackson's, and you haven't seen it yet because it's in my November art haul. So I'm not sure if this video will come out before or after, but I took, as you can see, I didn't take very much in here on the day before we left. So we left on the Thursday, and on the Wednesday when it arrived, I got so excited. I stuffed it full. I had Tombos in the back here, Tombos in the back here, and then here I had like so many different Luminance and Polychromos pencils. And then on the evening I was like, you know what, I need to be sensible because realistically I don't need all those pencils and all those Tombos. So I took out a lot of what I had in here in terms of Tombos, and I took with me 2 greys. I mean, this is a very warm grey, but 2 greys, 2 greens for trees, blue for the sky, and then a kind of pinky and a yellow just to brighten things up a little. These work really well. Very happy with that choice. I will look into other brands to take with as well, because I know Tombow aren't light fast. They're fine if you're just doing like sketches, but if I want to do anything more with paper pages, you know, at some point I need to think about the light fastness of these things. This is the gnarly brush that I used for this stuff. It's, you can tell it's like a really old Dynasty Thailand number 8 flat. It's like, ooh, it's so hard and crunchy, but it works for getting really like rough marks on the page when you just want to add a bit of texture. Pencil sharpener was essential. I took 2 mechanical pencils, which I did use when I was at different museums. I didn't draw at the Louvre on the Monday because by then I'd been hit by the tummy bug. It hit me Sunday night, but my partner had not been able, oh, I can say fiance now. He had not been to a museum because he was there for a conference, so I didn't want him to miss out. So I just kind of like made out it wasn't as bad as it was and battled my way around the Louvre with him. I couldn't actually sit and do sketches because I couldn't really speak. I was trying to hold everything in, but he had a great time and that's what counts. And yeah, these came in handy for other museums. I used these a lot for drawing. The water brush pen I didn't use at all. Could have done had I made use of my Neo colours, but I didn't. And the Tintoretto, didn't use it at all. These acrylic markers, on them Wednesday before we left, I threw these in because I thought, well, it's always handy to have a kind of neutral tone and a dark tone to put down, so I thought they would come in handy. I think I did use them on one picture I started from a photo while in bed feeling rubbish. White pencil I took in order to continue or finish off something, didn't use it. Eraser, did use this one actually. It was handy for being on location when I needed to just correct a line. Micron 005, as you know, we already used that. And I took, this is the one, the Gouache Sport, which has got the carbon ink, platinum carbon ink in, and I used this quite a bit actually. And I also took this in order to mix up the paint within the little pots. That's it. So I don't feel like I used an awful lot of my supplies, mostly the Tombos and the colouring pencils. And yeah, I think it's really helpful because like my instinct when I know I'm going to go somewhere is to just cram in as many things as possible, but actually when you're going to places like museums, it's really hard to get stuff out. Like I couldn't sit there with a pot of water. When we last went to Paris, it was really warm and sunny, so we sat outside and I had, it wasn't this one actually, I took this spritz with me and I used the lid, so I sprayed down the paints and then I used the lid, which I would pour from the bottle, as my little like paintbrush dirty water cleaning container because it's so small. But when you're in a museum, you're not really allowed to take water, so I didn't use this at all. And I think it's helped me realize that the kind of trip I'm going on really will dictate what I take with me. It's been really helpful for helping me understand how to pack for future trips. Like I know that realistically if I'm traveling with my other half, I won't be able to necessarily sit. Like he did keep encouraging me at the Louvre. He's like, oh, why don't you sit and draw for a bit and I'll just wander if you want. And I physically couldn't because I felt so ill. I couldn't just stop. I had to keep moving slowly. I don't know, and I said to him, I don't know that I would be able to sit for like half an hour sketching something because he would keep coming back anyway to get us to move on to the next section. So I don't know, I think it's really hard to travel with somebody and practice what you love to do if it's not something that they would sit down and do as well. So with all of that in mind, I would drastically reduce the amount of items that I took with me for another trip. Unless I'm going just by myself, then I would take more. As well, the problem I had is that I didn't realize that with the art tutor session, I thought I'd be able to use my own materials, but she had set exercises using set materials and she was providing those. She gave me a piece of paper to use for the drawing with the chalk, with the sepia, and she had made like a little booklet that she was quite keen for me to use, but as I said to her, I wanted to keep everything in my main sketchbook so I have it to look back on. I don't want like another booklet lying around. I wanted everything in here so that everything from my trip was together. So that was yeah, okay, that's my thoughts. That's everything I took to Paris. Things that I used, things that I didn't use, regrets, loves, all that kind of thing. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in my next video, and hopefully it's the November art haul so that you can see properly some of the things that I've shown you here. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.